Conway, along with another man, are accused of killing and burning the Gentry family in 2009. Karen Gentry, the daughter of 80-year-old victim Edward Gentry, seen here at the trial a year ago, sent THV 11 News this email. This is one of the largest, most horrific murders in Hot Springs, if not the country, to go about virtually unknown. And now to go through another retrial and go free is unbelievable.
In 2009, I was a reserve deputy with the Garland County Sheriff's Department. One of the duties that I had was a member of the Tactical Response Team, or the TRT, kind of like a SWAT team. At this time, the case is still pending, so there is a gag order. There's not a lot of information I'll be able to give you in regards to who we were going to arrest and things like that. But the whole premise behind it is we were actually staged at the sheriff's office earlier trying to verify the location. At that point, I remember our two team leaders coming to AJ and I and said, one of you is going to have, you two are going to be the point, number one, number two. So who's it going to be? And I remember going, I'll be one. So I remember as we got out of the SWAT van, made our approach moving up, and for whatever reason, and I've never done this before in regards to a SWAT raid, I actually prayed for the people. You have usually your point guy, which is the first one, and then you have a breacher, the guy who hits the door, and you have a big thing called a ram, a big piece of metal. And I remember I can see our breacher swing it back, and I remember praying, God forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And as soon as that happened, the door hit and rounds started coming out at that point.
That day I felt really weird all day long. I didn't know why. I just felt like something wasn't right. Something was gonna happen. I don't know. It was just this strange feeling that I had all day. Dad and Jackson and I were gonna do a Thanksgiving thing for his after school program. Dad called and said that they had to do a search warrant, and I kind of knew that was coming because I knew about the case they were doing it on. And Dad called and said, I can't come. We've got to do a search warrant. I was ready for bed, and I saw lights coming into the driveway. There was two deputies. I recognized their voices as they were running up to the front doorway, and they kept saying, Michelle, they kept saying my name, screaming my name. Their response to me was, you need to come to the hospital. He's not dead, but he's been shot in the face. And I just remember losing it. I just completely lost it. I remember Jackson grabbing me and saying, Mom, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I remember looking at him, and I remember he said, Jesus says Daddy's gonna be okay, we just have to pray. We have to pray really hard.
It was kind of this weird mix, like I didn't know what to do, and I was kind of scared for him.
And whatever it was in that moment kind of snapped me out of it, and I thought, okay, I've got to take care of business. I've got to get to the hospital. I've got to take care of what's going on.
So I kind of would go in and out, but I remember landing, and there is a family friend from my hometown of Glenwood who's very good friends with my sister. She's a nurse at UAMS, and I remember them getting me out and wheeling me in. So landing on the helipad, wheeling me in, and I remember her saying, Jason, I'm here. And so, that gave me a little bit of calm. Without going into too much detail and disgusting people, I can remember they began to check me out, head to toe, top to bottom, starting from, doing a medical sweep. They were worried because at some point I became nauseous and I vomited, and when I vomited blood from swallowing so much of it. Well, the doctors and nurses and those in the emergency room thought that I actually had internal injuries. So they actually tried to intubate me to find out. They tried to put stick a tube down you. And so I remember how horrible that was, and thinking I would rather be shot again than to have someone intubate me. And I remember at that point getting worried that for two things. One, I was worried that, am I paralyzed? Do I have some brain damage? Because you got shot in the face. So I started thinking, so I started counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I started remembering birthdays and doing that. And then I got worried. I was worried that my wife is going to be very mad once she finds out that I got shot.
The ER doctor, Dr. Wagenhauser, I knew him, so he had stopped me and said, okay, here's what you're gonna see, here's what's going on with him. And when I walked in, they were doing x-rays, and I think he thought I was going to be mad. So he was really kind of timid. He was really kind of like he was looking at me to see if I was gonna be really angry. And he just looked at me and he goes, I'm so sorry. And then I think we both kind of started laughing. It was really weird. I think I was so relieved to see him there talking, and he knew who I was and he knew what was going on. I think I was so relieved that I started laughing, and then he starts laughing. So I think at that point I kind of had a real peace.
But, you know, the doctors and nurses were absolutely amazing there. I don't remember much, in and out a lot. I remember waking up the next morning in ICU, and some of my teammates had come to see me and check on me. So I was more worried how they would react, because I knew they would be scared.
I remember one of the deputies, they were really, really kind, and they had said that they would put me up in a hotel, but I didn't want to leave. So they had a bed, an area you could sleep, and I just remember being there day and night. I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave to go eat. I wouldn't leave. I think I left one time to go get some clothes. I just remember talking to a lot of doctors. I remember thinking, I've got to be calm and take care of this. I prayed incessantly. There wasn't a minute or a moment that I didn't pray on my own, or that Dad and I prayed together. We prayed together quite a lot.
I got out right before Thanksgiving, and I remember being home, and I forget what day it was, but I remember my two amazing daughters and Jackson, my son, being there, and we ate a lot of Cracker Barrel. But I remember being there the Wednesday, I believe, before Thanksgiving, and sitting on the couch, and what a peace it gave me. Getting home from the hospital, I had to keep my head down for 10 days, and I remember all my kids, they were just on me all the time, in a sweet way, of course, but sitting there saying, keep your head down, keep your head down. So I had to keep my head down and lay face down all the time for a period of 10 days. And my wife, she was a complete rock. All that, never left my side, hated to leave me at any time.
Oh, it's a truly life-changing experience. I don't take anything for granted for a day, anything. My husband's life, my kids' lives, being safe, having a good home, I take nothing for granted. And I realized how lucky I am, because your dad truly is the love of my life. So to get a second chance, I just feel really fortunate. And my family, I think we're all stronger, and I think we're all tighter, we're more tight-knit, and I think that that completely, I mean, I've always grown up in the church, but that experience cemented my family, cemented my relationship with your dad, and completely changed my relationship with God for the rest of my life.
Him being shot really, I think it brought us closer, honestly, because we all kind of realized, you know, that like he was almost gone. And so I think that we kind of connected, and we went to church more.
It's weird. It's one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. Dad and I say this all the time. It's one of the worst things that ever happened, but yet it was the biggest blessing ever.
I love movies, so I'm gonna, one movie that I absolutely loved, it's called The Kingdom. And there's a scene in it, and I'll give you the short version, where the FBI director is talking to the U.S. Attorney General, and he talks about how during the Tet Offensive, General Westmoreland required all of his officers to write their own obituary. And the reason he did that is to show them that life is finite. And once you realize that life will end, and life will continue with you or without you, that you can fight, you can continue on. So that's something that I accept. I'm very passionate, and I'm very secure in my faith and know where I'm going. I know I'm going to heaven one day. So that kind of has carried me through. Everything else is just minuscule. Thank you. Too much.